So I have another guest today with me, and it's a special one for the hardcore segment. It's namely Ellyy from the guild Hard Chores. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, you specifically are in a hardcore raiding guild, so you are raiding on max level with hardcore still on. Can you explain a bit what the challenge is about?
Yeah, so the challenge is just, and it's the hardcore challenge except extended to level 60 and all level 60 content. So most players on Turtle WoW leveling up as hardcore have experienced the hardcore challenge, doing as much content as they can from 1 to 59. And it's the same sort of idea level 60, right? Except instead of leveling, now we're trying to clear all the raids on Turtle WoW.
That sounds very scary, I must say. But fun. Well, but I want to talk about a specific event that happened on April the 12th, because you were in AQ40. What happened there?
Well, we were fighting Huhuran, and we had been preparing up to Huhuran for a couple of weeks or like maybe 2 months at that point almost. And it wasn't a wipe, but we lost 7 players, mostly due to a bug. As you may know from running AQ40, Huhuran has an enrage phase at 30% where she starts poison bolt volleying, and it hits the nearest 15 players. And the normal sort of trick to deal with this is to get a bunch of pets out. So summonable pets, hunter pets, and in particular we use the Barrow Peasant Collar, where it summons 3 peasants and you just have everyone pop your Barrow Peasant Collar at 35%, 30%-ish, and your peasants soak the poison bolt volley. But at the time, there was a bug where if you were in combat and you summoned your peasants and you selected another target, it would instantly put you in combat with that target as well. So what happened was, well, this part we're actually not 100% certain on, but somehow someone selected an Anubisat Defender. We think it was an add-on or something, like an add-on scanning and just like automatically targeting and untargeting a nearby mob. So I think we think that's what happened, but we're not 100% sure. But it put us in combat with the Defender.
You mentioned that it was a bug, but is it a bug specifically for Turtle WoW, or is it a bug for Vanilla WoW? So just part of the raid like it always was?
It's a bug for Turtle WoW. It's been fixed now. It got fixed almost, I think, maybe the week after we lost the players, and it didn't work like that in the past either. I think something just broke. But in any case, yes. So we pulled the Defender like that, and yeah, stuff went south from there. So what ended up happening is that, normally you have your Barrow peasants soaking that poison bolt volley instead of your players. But now all our peasants run off to fight this Anubisat Defender charging at us. And so people started taking raid damage that way.
And it was just too much.
That was a lot of extra damage. But unfortunately, also, if you've ever fought those defenders on Turtle WoW, you know they have a special fun ability where they will, if you're on their threat table and no one is in melee range of them, then you'll get teleported on top of them. And so what ended up happening is that since we were in combat with the Defender, the only people getting on the threat table were healers, right? And so it was a bunch of healers just getting teleported to them. And by the time we realized what was happening, like, it was kind of already too late. People were getting killed. And we called Petri almost immediately after that. But yeah, so it was really a bad confluence of things. So also it was all our healers getting teleported, massive raid damage plus lack of healers. Then you get people dying.
So it was a big mix of unfortunate events happening.
And actually even worse is that, they have the meteor spell where it calls down a meteor and it splits the meteor damage between everyone nearby, which you would normally have people stack, but for Huhuran you have people spread out because of the noxious poison. So you don't get a bunch of people silenced. And so we had some people die to a meteor as well because they were playing the Huhuran encounter right, but unfortunately the bug happened, we pulled the Defender, and so there's basically no playing it right at that point except instantly Petri, which we did as soon as we realized what was going on.
Yeah, I also saw the VOD of your players getting killed. Were those the only ones that you lose, or were there more losses in that chaos that was unfolding?
in that VOD, I think you see everyone die who died that day. So yeah, I think that was it.
Because you acted quickly, you were able to contain the damage, let's say it like that.
Yeah, I mean, given that it was a bug that we had no idea existed, we did basically as well as we could. I personally should have reacted quicker and called something, but in part, I think we were slow to call something because it wasn't a slow kill, but it was like maybe probably going to be 3 or 5 seconds slower than normal. And so I was paying attention to other stuff. I was paying attention to being ready to tell people to repop Greater Nature or call for heals in someone. And so I wasn't looking at like, what are those peasants doing? You know, why are they running that direction? If I had noticed that, we could have called it earlier, but it would have saved us like 2 or 3 seconds at most. And so I don't know. There's not much else we could have done.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Well, with losing so many Inferno players, that's undoubtedly challenging. How do you recover from that? How do you get those spots filled again?
Well, I mean, something that's special about hard chores, I think, is that it's just the level of dedication of players. And that's in part due to the fact that we just have some great and dedicated people, and part due to the fact that it's just like, it's a special community. We like have movie nights and stuff. There's a lot of loyalty, a lot of dedication, and a lot of trust amongst the raiders. So we're not stepping back into AK-40 for maybe 2 or 3 more weeks, but we had alts ready. We had people ready to step up. So in terms of rebuilding, it happened immediately, and we were prepared.
And did your strategy change after this event for future raids?
Well, I mean, definitely we'll be looking closer for this sort of thing because it could happen again. But since it is due to a bug, I'm hoping it never happens again, right? We'll be looking at tests to make sure like no one gets teleported, and people definitely react quicker. But it's a bug, so it shouldn't happen again. I mean, definitely we'll put a greater emphasis on the execute phase, with like the enrage phase for killing Huhuran, but already we were aware of the dangers there. So in terms of getting her dead quick, like there's not much else we can improve on there.
Well, the community reaction in World Chat and on Hardcore Chat specifically was a bit mixed. Some were showing support and others were less empathic. How has this affected the guild interaction with the broader Turtle WoW community?
Well, I think always this is just a feature of playing hardcore. I think pretty much. I don't know. You see any random high level player die, a level 50 dying to something, and half the people in and hardcore chat are saying like, and the other half are saying what an idiot, and like it's just a feature of the game mode, right? Some people are kind of toxic, some people are supportive. So I'm not surprised that some comments were negative. I'm not surprised we got some support as well. So it doesn't really change how I interface with the community or how we interface with the rest of the hardcore community. I think it's par for the course in some sense. I mean, I just hope like one thing I do hope is that I hope it doesn't give people the impression that like hardcore raiding is like particularly unsafe or particularly a waste of time. I mean, just as an example here, I think we've been raiding Blackhung Lair for about 6 months now, and over the course of 6 months, we lost 3 players total, and 2 were just due to like pure personal mistakes, right? And only 1 was due to like actually something going wrong. And so overall, it's pretty safe. This sort of thing is pretty rare. Of course, it's a possibility, but it's not like we're taking serious risks or like we're gonna put your character in serious risk of dying. We plan like to the greatest possible extent for every encounter, and like it takes a bug like this in order to actually see some deaths at this scale. So if anything, it's almost proof of how safe it is when it's approached correctly.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, if you have done these raids in the past for, let's say, 200 times, it really adds to that experience to enjoy the raids. You are a little bit more on edge. You really have to push yourself to perform to your very best of your abilities, and therefore it's fun.
Oh yeah, it is hard to go back to raiding on softcore after raiding on hardcore. I still remember the first time I did CG on hardcore, and I had done ZG like hundreds of times, right? And still I was like, you're just running in your head, thinking in your head, like, do I really know everything about this raid? I feel like I know everything about this raid, but do I really know everything about this? And it's an intense experience. I remember the first time I did it, I was sweating. I was literally sweating. It's fun, right? It's intense in a way that softcore raiding isn't.
Last question. In the light of this experience, what would your advice be to offer to other hardcore raids attempting high-level content like AQ40?
That's a tough one. I think there's a lot that needs to be in place in order to attempt high-level raids in hardcore. One thing is certainly that you need extensive planning, right? You need extensive planning. And not only do you need extensive planning, but like often, even if you know the traditional strategies to clear these encounters, often they need to be modified, right? Not only that though, but also attempt these raids and do them successfully. Like, you need robust community, especially on Turtle. Like, if you're raiding on Hardcore Classic, this is less important because if you've ever seen those streams, right? If someone dies in a raid, like, they're kind of a stormtrooper. They get replaced like pretty much instantly. Our community is a little smaller, so you need a robust community. You can't just replace some guy. You need a level of trust that if something wrong does happen or something bad does happen and someone dies, like, that they don't distrust you anymore, right? They know that you did everything that you can and that you're still trustworthy. Getting that stuff in place is extremely rewarding, right? It means that you have a tight-knit community of people who are loyal and dedicated and trust each other, and work together daily to solve like difficult tasks. That's very rewarding. I mean, personally, as someone doing a lot of the planning for raids, that's fun too, right? It's a puzzle. Getting these puzzles solved just right is like, it's a very enjoyable experience. So it's hard work. There's a lot that needs to be done. At the same time, though, it is fun and enjoyable.
Thank you very much, Ellyy, for having the time on the show to tell about this experience, more of the less enjoyable ones, of course. So thank you very much for that one, and I hope to see you back into AQ40 very soon again.
Yeah, thank you for having me again, and I love talking to you about this.
Great job, man. Good luck.